Let's try and finish this last one up. I've cleaned my calculator out. I'm going to enter in my last statement. So negative, I see a negative sign, 34.2x squared plus 8.25x, subtract 44. These numbers look fairly, but I'll take a look at the graph first. I'm expecting this to be a downward parabola. And I can't see a thing. So this is a really tough one for me, right? I've entered my equation in properly. I've hit the graph. So I'm going to give you a kind of a little bit of a cheat here. If you press, I'm just going to check something for you. If you've entered your whoops, sorry, I just lost my. You've entered your equation in, you've pressed graph, whoops, thanks. Sorry, you weren't supposed to see that. You've entered your equation in, right? This is where we are. You've entered your equation in, I pressed graph, I see nothing. One of the ways that you can get, like without playing around with your windows, because here I really have nothing to start with, you can, and I could have told you this earlier, but I didn't want to rush this because I didn't want you to rely on this. You can press zoom 0 to get help with Windows, with Windows settings. That word is settings. So if you're stuck with a graph that you've entered everything in, you press graph, you see nothing, you can press on the top menu, there's zoom, press zoom, and you don't see the 0 yet because it's right down here. I'm just going to show you. Zoom is right here, it's zoom fit. You can press zoom 0 and it'll give you, it'll show you where the graph is. So it's giving you a bit of a starting point. Now, it's going to give, the window settings are going to be really weird when you look at them, but you can see how low this graph was. It was actually way down in the negatives. That's why we didn't see it the first time. So once again, a last ditch, kind of a Hail Mary is zoom 0. Then they'll always give you the graph to work with. All right. It's a little weird to look at the graph this way though, because you don't really know where the x-axis, the y-axis. That's why I prefer that you guys adjust the windows kind of manually, because then you're always aware of where the graph is. But if you look at this, if you go back to the windows, X-min and X-max, the X values are fine. It's the Y values, they're all way down in the negatives. So it's really hard to see that there's no x-intercept. So we've got a y-min of negative 3,400 or 546 and a y-max of negative. If you want to put a y-max of something more positive in, like put a positive, how about a positive 50? So you have a positive and a negative. That way you can always see your x-axis too a little bit, right? So you can see up there, there's your x-axis. You can change your window to be higher if you want these to match kind of so your graph is centered. You have a negative 3546. You can put up positive 3546 in there, right? Just to make it the graph look more balanced for you. That didn't really help much, did it? But that it kind of gives you a little bit of more of a sense of where your graph is, right? It's up to you though. So now we're going to see, first of all, I guess what the y-intercept is, right? Let's try, or I guess we'll say first of all, direction of opening is downwards. Sign of leading coefficient is negative, of course. End behavior will be quadrant 3 to quadrant 4. Once you determine it's downward, it's always going to be quadrant 3 to quadrant 4. Y-intercept. All right, let's see what's going on here. Because these numbers are so large, it looks like it's touching at 0, but we can't be sure. Whoops. Second trace value, x is 0. Y is negative 44, right? That doesn't even look like negative 44. Remember, our window settings are so high, it's kind of mushing everything together there. So my y-intercept is negative 44. That means, if you think about it, this graph looks like, if you think about, if I just graph this, this is the, right? That's the y-intercept. There are no x-intercepts then. There can't be, right? Now, if we tried that, if you tried putting a y2 in, y2 is 0, and then you go second trace number 5, first curve, second curve. When you go to take a guess, nothing's going to happen. Oops, sorry. Let me try that again. You can see the screen. Second trace number 5. And we answer our 3 questions. First curve, second curve, take a guess. It's going to give you an error message because that's because there's no x-intercepts, right? It can't find anything that doesn't exist. So that's why another reason you can say that there's no x-intercepts. The vertex though. Now, if this is a downward one, I know this is going to be the maximum value, right? The vertex will have a maximum. So that means, so if it's a downwards, there's no minimum. I just have to find the vertex and that will be my maximum value. Okay, clear. Go back to my graph. So I want this vertex. It looks like it's right at the origin, but it's not, right? Second trace, now it's going to be a maximum value. Now just move to the left of the turning point. Enter. Now use your back and forth arrows to move to the right of the turning point. Enter. Take a guess. So the vertex is 0.12, comma, negative 43.50. So the vertex is really close to the y-intercept, right? It's not right on it. It looks like the y-intercept is the vertex, but actually it's not. It's just a little to the left. All right, once you find that, that also, whatever the y-coordinate gives you your max or your min value, in this case it's maximum. No change, domain XER, and the range, okay, well, let's see. That's my y-intercept, right? But the vertex is y is less than or equal to negative 43.50. And that's it. So that's a long set of examples. The only new thing is though finding the vertex. After we define the new vocabulary, is finding the vertex. So as long as you can handle the vertex, then everything else is the same as in linear equations. I'm going to stop talking for today. Tomorrow is going to be a work period. I think actually probably Thursday and Friday. So please pay attention to the blog because I'll always post a link to a Google Meet. So tomorrow, if you have class time, use it for work. Class, please join me during a Google Meet. I'll just open up a link and you can hop on and just ask me questions about, you can just work along with me and just pop in and ask questions as you need, or you can even just join the Google Meet for the whole class and just work on your own and then just turn your mic on when you want to ask me questions. So hopefully I'll see some of you tomorrow during the work period.